What's going on, guys? This is Alignment First. Michael Anders here with Hannah Chapman, my homegirl, certified financial planner, entrepreneurial wealth coach. And we met through the Dream Team 100 container. Shout out to Sebastian Cruz and everybody that he has expanded my circle with through that container. And we're going to have a pretty expanded conversation today around wealth and human design. And that what's really interesting about you being independent in what you do is it allows for this more expanded conversation where I've been interested in having the finance conversation, particularly around the energy of money. And wealth advisors and such that are in my circle are very reluctant to podcast or have a recorded conversation because of all the rules, regulations, etc., that are involved in the industry. What makes you different and the very impactful interaction that you and I have had is the integration of human design into your practice and the awareness, the increase in my consciousness, just in the very brief exposure to human design through you, has been really interesting and impactful in understanding me and how I step into a higher and better version of myself. So first and foremost, thank you for taking the time, the energy to hold space with me and have this conversation at all today. I'm grateful that you're here.
Thank you so much, Michael. I am so happy to have this conversation with you. And for any of your listeners, I also have a podcast, so that's another really important thing that I get to do. And I'll answer, your question of like, why am I able to talk more freely in a minute, but the podcast itself is also a really big piece of that. So, and we just had an amazing conversation that dropped on November 4th. So if you want to listen to Michael on the other side of the microphone getting interviewed, go check that out. It's such a good conversation. So I'm so happy to get to, keep diving in with you. It feels like just a continuation really of our previous conversation.
Yeah, for sure. So let's start there. Why do you get to have this conversation with me where most of your peers in the industry, whether it's financial planning, wealth management, whatever, reluctant or can't?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of both because we are in the financial industry, we're highly regulated and we should be. That is for good reason. It is for consumer protection because over the last century that we have had, wealth advisors and financial advisors and stockbrokers and whatever they called themselves at any given time, there have been abuses in the system. There have been people who have found ways to take advantage of clients, and that is why we have so many regulations in place. So from the very beginning, I want to say that I think the regulations in the financial system are important. They are there to protect the consumer, and that is of utmost importance to me as a financial advisor. You'll see I'm a CFP as well, certified financial planner, which means I am a fiduciary. And a fiduciary, in case your listeners aren't quite sure what that means, it's a buzzword that's been floating around for a long time now, right? But what is a fiduciary? A fiduciary is someone who has to do what's in the client's best interest at all times. So no matter what, like anything that I recommend, anything when I'm going through different strategies with clients, I am required to always give clients recommendations that are in their best interest, that are not, hey, this is the highest commission for me, or hey, over time, this is going to make me the most money. All of that is not even part of the discussion. It's what's best for my client. So that we take that as it is. The reason I'm allowed to talk and allowed to have the podcast and allowed to be on social media and literally truly be myself is because I'm independent. So I am independent, meaning I'm not attached to one of the large broker houses or wire houses or broker dealers. So, throw some names out there like Merrill Lynch or Edward Jones or Raymond James or Ameriprise, like these big names, right, that have literally tens of thousands of advisors. Well, when there are tens of thousands of advisors, your compliance box, you have to stay inside of it. It's like everything's a no to start, unless like you can say these words and you can stay in this box. Otherwise, we have to cut it. You can't say anything else. And that's typically what it is, right? At those big investment firms. And again, for good reason, because they have 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 or 50,000 advisors that they have to manage.
Yeah.
Instead, my brand is X Squared Wealth Planning. And I sit in front of, or affiliated with Juncture Wealth Strategies, who are a boutique RIA. They're based here in Scottsdale, and we're a small team. And so like the partners are the ones, that's my compliance officer, that's the CEO, right? Like we are a small group. And so I know where my boundaries are. I have to make sure everything I say is moral, ethical, legal, in the best interest of my clients. And I'm not making any promises. And as long as I know that I'm staying within those parameters, I am free to be me, which for me, where I was before, I was at a large broker dealer for about 14 years. That was not, I was in the box, right? I had to stay inside the box, and I had to stay, even on LinkedIn, for example, like they would have approved posts and you weren't even allowed to like change even little bits of wording or like add a little bit of personality. They would literally delete it.
Yeah.
Like, nope, you changed it. You can't have that. And that was truly one of the big reasons why I left. Because I couldn't, from my perspective, I did not feel that I could build a business that was true to my heart if I couldn't even express myself.
Right.
And so that was huge. Yeah. So being independent, I mean, there are a lot of reasons for that. We can go more into that if you'd like, but it's a huge benefit, I think, for advisors and for clients.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about this before we went live. I feel like there's a lot of parallels between the restrictions in finance and the restrictions in fitness. The further along in formal education I got in the training world, the more red tape I felt like I was being taught around. So there are basic principles that apply universally with regards to training, nutrition, recovery, and hydration, right? And in the world of strength and conditioning, from a formal education standpoint, without getting more certifications, more credentials, etc., if you wanted, the way the message was received in education was, you stick to sets and reps, you stick to the weight room. As soon as you start talking macros and nutrient timing and all these things that are really not a big deal in terms of the discussion in quote unquote bro science, because I don't know too many high level bodybuilding competitors that are certified or credentialed beyond what they know in self experimentation or what they're doing on the training floor with their clients already, right? Through their lived experience. And if you look at it, these protocols, those principles are in play. If you want to build, you need to be in a surplus. If you want to lose, you need to be in a deficit calorically. Things like that, regardless of whether you're carnivore, vegan, paleo, whatever, like that principle must be in play. And it always seemed like the further along in education I got, they're like, nope, that's outside your scope. Don't talk about that. Don't go there. And I feel the same energy with you guys in finance around like, there's got to be some like very basic 30,000 foot, no matter which strategy you apply, these principles must exist in order to create a quote unquote successful strategy. Is that the same dynamic that we're talking about?
Yes, it's so like the parallel is great. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's super similar in that yeah, like the very basics of like in order to grow your wealth, you have to spend less than you make, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's a very universal prospect, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And doesn't mean you have to earn income of more than what you spend, but you have to have income streams in different ways and different
Mm-hmm.
places that equal more than what you spend in a year. Um,
So diversification is also a principle.
Diversification, right? Like
Yeah.
a very main principle when I see a portfolio that is super concentrated, meaning it has like one or two positions,
Mm-hmm.
or someone who is like just focused on just real estate and doesn't do anything else. That always gives me pause, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if something happens to that one holding or that one industry, like you're kind of screwed.
Right.
Um, so like yes, having diversification is also a really basic one that we can talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of to your parallel, our emotional state
Mm-hmm.
around money, the way our nervous system responds to any money decision, that's actually more important, I believe, than the numbers that you're seeing.
Mm.
It's your reaction to the numbers, the way your nervous system responds to, hey, your client is late paying their invoice. What are you going to do about that? Or, hey, the market just took a 20% dive. What are you going to do about that? The way your nervous system responds to that will dictate what action you take or don't take,
Mm-hmm.
whether you trust or don't trust your advisors that you've pulled around you. Um, and then that has a very, very real knock on effects for your long term wealth and your long term wealth building and your long term success of your own financial plan. And just like you were saying, like that's not something, again, like when I was at a big broker dealer, absolutely no way I would have been able to talk about human design or inner child healing or your emotional relationship to money in the way.
Really?
No, absolutely not. 0%. Not
Mm-hmm.
publicly anyway.
Sure, sure. The that's so interesting because to your point, when you're talking about something that is customized, that takes the individual into consideration, being a fiduciary, I feel like subjective as those metrics are, for your emotional response to your emotional relationship with money, that's very subjective. I think we can objectively say that. Um, how's that not part of the conversation?
It's crazy, Michael. I'm like,
Because I feel like that falls into the conversation. I'm just speaking from my lived experience here. Part of like your quote unquote risk tolerance is really that emotional thing is what we're really talking about.
100%.
Okay.
100%. And so, I mean, they try to get to it that way. But what is the
Uh-huh.
risk tolerance question actually asking? It's asking if your portfolio drops 10%,
Mm-hmm.
is that going to be okay? If your portfolio drops 15%, if it drops 20%. So what we're literally all we're measuring is what's your tolerance for your portfolio literally dropping,
Mm-hmm.
and how resilient are you going to be? How, like, when are you going to freak out and pull the trigger of like, I have to go to cash?
Yeah.
What's that point going to be? And then
Mm-hmm.
we can create the portfolio that matches with that risk tolerance. So if you say, if my portfolio drops 5%, I'm going to freak out.
Mm-hmm.
That means you're only able to be in a very conservative portfolio
Right.
that's not going to move very much. And so when you're not willing to take on a little bit more of the risk, then the reward side is also very
Mm-hmm.
limited.
Yeah.
But what's also true, and this is where the actual emotional work comes in, because
Mm-hmm.
for most people, when you see it on a page and it says, well, would I be willing to risk a 20% loss if it means I'm also likely to gain 20 to 30% in any given year?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, yeah, of course. Like, I don't want that 5% loss, 5% gain. That's dumb. That's not enough. I want the big wins.
Mm-hmm.
And so they say that they're okay with the big swings in their portfolio because that's what's going to potentially get them to the higher gains as well. And as soon as they start seeing that, like, my portfolio is down 10, my portfolio is down 15, then the panic sets in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it's like, no, it's not okay. But then if you put them in a more conservative portfolio and say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you didn't like those swings, we need to have you in something that isn't going to move as much, then when the market is earning 20, 30% in a year and they're only up 8 or 10, then they're pissed.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I not keeping up? Well, because last time the market pulled back, you freaked out.
Right. Yeah.
And so you see how it's like
Sure.
it's so surface level.
Mm-hmm.
It's so surface level because it's talking about is the performance of your portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
And if all we stay at is if it's doing well, I'm doing great. If it's going negative, I'm really upset. And we just leave it at that,
Mm-hmm.
then you know this from being in a transformational coaching space, we're not actually addressing
Mm-hmm.
the fear that's underneath.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And in financial planning, we start to get there. I think there are other advisors who start to get there, who look at behavioral finance, for example.
Okay.
Um, and behavioral finance tells us a lot, right? It really does help us understand the psychology
Mm-hmm.
of what people are experiencing when they're, going through these ups and downs or going through ups and downs in their career or with family. But I don't know about you, if you've ever done this, but if you've ever tried to tell someone, well, most people,
I'm not most people.
right? They get pissed. People get
Yeah.
so mad when you're like, well, it's really common. Most people do this when this happens. Every single person is like, well, not me. I have a specific situation. This is why I'm upset. It's all these all these factors. I
Mm-hmm.
I am not part of that
Right.
group of, just normal investors.
Mm-hmm.
When on the macro level, yes, they are. But when we just treat them like a statistic, and that's what it is, right? If we say behavioral finance says this is
Mm-hmm.
very common for you to experience,
Yeah.
that makes them feel like a statistic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, again, it's one, it lacks compassion and empathy. Two, it makes people feel not listened to.
Yep.
And I guess I just did two. Two makes people feel not listened to. And three, that's where if you can't meet them in that moment,
Yeah.
hold the space to like hear everything, hear the whole story
Yeah.
that's coming up, then you don't have the opportunity to go underneath the story.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I call these money stories. That's one of the things that I work with people on is like, okay, let's actually like go one level deeper. Like, where's that coming from?
Mm-hmm.
What's the story underneath? It could be that their parent, their main wage earner parent lost their job when they were 10,
Yep.
right? And it colored their whole view of safety and security after that. Or like my parents, when I was little, they were building a business and we had almost no money and we were on food stamps. We had very little money security. And so that, that colored those are
Mm-hmm.
my money stories that I had to heal and overcome.
Yeah.
Um, but if we don't ever go underneath, then we don't actually heal the root cause of the problem.
Yeah. So how do you do that? Because before we get to the healing, I want to talk about some of the spectrum of literature that's out there. You got the Dave Ramsey's, like, save every penny, debt is the enemy. Then you got the Robert Kiyosaki's of the world that are like, debt is your friend. Good dad, poor dad, rich dad, poor dad,
Yeah.
And then you have one of my favorites on the money conversation is The Richest Man in Babylon, because I feel like that one is so rich in principle,
Mm.
in the allegories it talks about, then you can apply based on your emotional relationship with money. which end of the spectrum you want to play on. The Dave Ramsey end, which is much more conservative, and the Robert Kiyosaki. And maybe I'm speaking out of pocket. Maybe they're closer uh, than I realize in terms of their philosophy around money. But are there books that you can point that you use to point people in the direction of that healing? Is that kind of where you start, or do you go straight to human design and go back out from there?
So, okay, so you bring up some really good points. And just remind me, The Richest Man in Babylon, is that the one where they're talking about like different levels, like different colors of like where you're? No, maybe that's a different one.
In The Richest Man in Babylon, it literally like the narrative is like in biblical times, and it evolves from the barter system in terms of the stories that it tells, to not spending more than you make, living below your means. It really paints the picture as to those principles that we're talking about in terms of the attainment of abundance and wealth.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's hilarious, truly hilarious to me, is that I will say upfront, I'm not a Dave Ramsey fan.
Okay.
So because I find him to be out of integrity.
Ooh, really? Okay.
I do with what he does versus what he says.
Okay.
And when those things are not in alignment, that is, I'm out.
So you can't say
you
can't say get out of debt and it takes money to make money in the same breath.
Right.
Or
And
is that
and the way
surface level?
right. Well, the way that he uses debt, the way that he uses real estate, the way that he also talks down on financial advisors and what we do, and then literally has his own financial services on the other side.
Okay.
Right. And so it's always like speaking out of two sides of his mouth here.
Okay. Interesting. Didn't know
that. But at a fundamental level, the other thing that doesn't work for me, and I think for most people, is again this single-minded focus on getting out of debt. Does that mean all debt is good debt? No, I don't believe that all debt is good debt. But there are times in people's lives where that's what you need. That's literally how you survived, right? And from taking on student loan debt, or starting a business and taking on debt for that, or buying a home and having a mortgage. If you listen to any of his podcasts and different things, and I've actually responded a few times on my own podcast to some of what he says, he's just so out of touch with what like regular middle class Americans, and especially people who are struggling right now, what they're actually experiencing in the economy right now. He's just so far out of touch to tell people like, why are you spending money on childcare? That's ridiculous. Just send them to a free summer camp. Like, what free summer camps are you talking about? I would love to, but
it's your source.
Yeah. Like that doesn't exist for very many people. And when most households today, like the majority of households have two working parents, right? Like this is a very different environment, and we need to, again, meet people where they're at.
Yeah.
And understand their actual lived experience in their situation. And I think that sole focus on getting out of debt, again, I don't think that's even what he has done, because when you solely focus on getting out of debt, especially in, let's say from 25 to 40, even 25 to 45, right? Like, so for a lot of us in this age range, we're carrying debt,
right?
Whether it's mortgage or student loans or credit cards. And if you have enough money, if you're starting to make enough money where you have, okay, let's say you have $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month to figure out what to do with. If you're 35 years old and you're taking every extra penny you have and putting it towards debt to pay off your debt faster, yeah, you're going to pay off your debt a little bit faster, but you're putting everything into a diminishing return.
Yeah.
And you are literally losing out on the compound interest if you were to put some of that into the market, if you're to put some of that away. right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's always, it's insane to me for someone to take that so far as they're like, nope, I'm going to get all the way out of debt and then I'm going to start saving for myself. Because by the time you've done that, right? If you've just spent 10 years and now you've gone from 35 to 45, you
Mm-hmm.
literally lost out on 10 years of compounding.
Got it.
Which is humongous. If you were able to put if you had, say you have $4,000 a month and you put 3,000 towards debt and 1,000 for yourself, that $12,000 per year over 10 years, it's $120,000 saved, but it's at the end of 10 years, likely $250,000 to $300,000 or more.
Yeah.
And you can't get that if you were to, like, your debt's going to be paid off as well.
Mm-hmm.
But now you also have 250 or 300 grand in your investments at the same time, rather than having like, oh, I finished that a little bit sooner. I paid off the debt a little bit faster. And then I pivoted.
Mm-hmm.
The time value of money is one of the most important things that we have in time, when time is on our side.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Dave Ramsey focus on like getting out of debt at the expense of everything else in your life is really detrimental, not just from a mental and emotional standpoint, but from a financial standpoint as well.
Yeah.
And then the Robert Kiyosaki side, what's so funny, this is so funny to me. So when he wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad, I think it was like 1991, maybe, around there, he did a book tour around mega churches. Okay. And so I was raised evangelical here in the Phoenix area. He literally came and did a week at our church.
He's here in Scottsdale.
Oh, he's here in Scottsdale now?
He lives here, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't even know that. Mm-hmm. Back then he did not.
Okay.
But he was doing a book tour and he came and he was at our church for a whole week. And my parents bought the game and bought we played it at home and read all the books. So okay. I was like, I'm familiar with his game, literally and figuratively. Yeah. And it was so funny because when I must have been around 8 or 9 when he came through our church and we were playing the game and all this. And my parents were like, well, what are you going to do to make, earn income and have passive income and build blah, blah, blah later on. And at that time, I really wanted to be a teacher.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't really care about all of this. I really want to be a teacher. Mm-hmm. And my dad was like, not about that answer. He was like, he looked down on that pretty hard. Yeah. He's like, that'll never work. You'll never make enough money. Mm-hmm. And so for me, like, even at that young age, I was like, I don't know, like the way it was presented, not that it's wrong, but like, again,
well, I want to pause you really quick. Cause I think this is we're going to take a hard left really quick into parenting. You got kids, I got kids. I think it's in our best interest as parents not to pass our judgment. I'm so tired of the capital T overused term trauma. Stop passing our judgment onto our kids and really and look at it again, because we keep going back to this 30,000 foot concept, right? And looking at it as instead of teaching as a profession, literal, whiteboard, marker, 30 students, chaos, underpaid and overworked, and more so look at the characteristics of that job. Because I would in my observation of you, Hannah, you are very much a teacher.
Oh yeah.
You made it.
Right? Absolutely. 100% I did.
So looking at it from that perspective of, like, okay, how do you take that thing that you're genuinely interested in and then figure out, okay, based on how we want to raise you in terms of valuing a dollar and all of those things, with those characteristics, what's available to you in the universe that satisfies that and puts you in the best position to succeed. I think that's a much healthier way to look at it than, no, Don't do that thing that you just told me that you wanted to do with the rest of your life and that you absolutely love. Don't do that because there's no money in it.
Right.
Well, shit, man. Like, I feel like that's the impetus for putting people in these really shitty financial situations in the first place.
Right.
Because you cut off any and all exploration of what it is to like create abundance in this thing that I actually love.
Oh, yeah.
Is any
100%.
of that landing for you?
Like it couldn't be more perfect. Like, truly. I mean, it's like my son who's 12, we haven't really, like, we haven't put anything on them in that way of like, you should be XYZ, you should be this, you should, he loves history. Obsessed with history in all kinds of ways, and he's just always so curious about different aspects of different things. And like, if I was worried about it, right, it's like, well, what if he ends up being a history teacher, or what if the same, literally that same, I could go down that same path.
Yes.
Of like, we need to get him interested in something else that's going to give him, a better chance. What if this kid has a history podcast that goes viral? Like, I don't know, right? We don't know. And with the, advances in AI, he's 12. So by the time he's in his 20s, 10 years from now, who knows where AI will be at that point? There's going to be a need for people who have studied deeply, who are passionate about their subject, who like can't wait. Like, people are going to want to learn from other humans again. They still do now, but it's going to be even bigger. In the next 10, 15, 20 years, where someone's like, oh my gosh, this person has like encyclopedic knowledge and they're so freaking passionate about it. I love to listen to them. Who am I to say, like, I don't know. I don't know what the world looks like exactly in 10 years. What I can do is I can support all my 3 kids. I can support their interests. Yes. I can support them in like, oh, you are interested in that? Let's dive. Let's go. Let's see what happens. And I'm here to support you.
Right.
In that until you're ready to fly.
and I don't see when you look at like corporate structure and stuff like that, there's so much, one of the things we talk about in the veteran community, if there's a process, I can learn it. My undergrad is in health and human performance, and I did the FAA curriculum for air traffic control, which is 12 months long, in 4.
So you learn fast.
Well, no, it's the Marine Corps process. It's the only way. If you want this job, that's how we're going to do it, because we got to get the deployment, right? And so like that is a capacity that is, I'm not going to say that it's within all of us, but I will say that there is, that's not outside the realm of human potential, and to squash that and say, hey, nope, not for you. Nope. But just because you're my kid and I haven't seen proof of that in my lived experience.
Right.
Like, fuck, man, that is failure to parent, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. My inner child appreciates that. Also,
but I think also if that's a knee-jerk reaction within you, that's also okay. But recognize that that's your stuff,
right?
And rather than project it all over your children, hold on to that, explore it a second before you say whatever it is you're about to say in response to your child coming to you and saying, I want to be a teacher because I don't care about money. Like those are 2 separate things. They're not one and the same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. My youngest, who's 10, has said over the last year or so, she's like, I think I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm like, why? Lawyers make a lot of money. I was like, maybe. Some of them, not all of them. Right. Yeah. Like, they also can have to work really, 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 really hard. So like my immediate response is more, is more to go to balance, is like,
Oh yeah,
oh,
sure.
like if you only care about the money, that you're probably going to burn out pretty fast, because that's what happens with lawyers.
Mm.
Um, unless you find a way to create balance within that, right?
Well, and that's the next step, right? Is you can talk about your lived experience, but also like, hey, why don't let's play a game here. Let's run a little thought experiment. What does making a shit ton of money and having the balance look like?
Mm-hmm.
There's certain segments of the legal field that facilitate that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you value those two things, then let's start guiding you in that direction. Let's not steer clear of it altogether,
Right.
right? And that requires a level of presence to sit and have those conversations. My buddy of mine that I came into the Marines with came to visit a couple of weeks ago, and we're telling all the stories of the good old days and the hazing and the crazy and all the stories that my wife had not yet heard, and my kids are listening and just eating it all up. And Nicole looks over at Tristan, my son, and she's like, Tristan, after hearing all that, do you still want to be a Marine? He's like, yeah, that sounds awesome. And it's like, cool, dude. I love when people ask questions like that. Would you let your kid serve now? Would you let your kid play football? Do all. It's like his experience does it probably won't mirror mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to deny him that experience just because
Right.
of whatever my perception of mine was. That's not fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're getting to this is a good, like, we'll steer it back, but I think the
Yeah.
parenting piece is big, because it is important, and people ask me this pretty often of like, well, how are you teaching your kids? How are you, being a financial advisor yourself? The biggest thing for me in their early development wasn't like, I need you to know how to use a debit card, and I need you to know how to save XYZ into different. That wasn't important to me, actually. What was important to me was that, again, the scarcity that I grew up under, and the way that shaped my relationship with what was even possible, until I like really dove in. I had to do a lot of
Sure.
work to shift that and heal that. I wanted them to live in a world where the answer is yes. And they can feel especially, and people will hear that and be like, well, they're spoiled. But no, my children are not spoiled. They are not. They understand, right, where money, but from 0 to 7, age 0 to 7 is a time in our lives where all we're doing is taking in information about what it means to be alive in our world, and what it means to be a part of our family, and what stability and safety feels like in our body. So for me, from 0 to 7, it was most important for my children to feel like that, yes, like the world is possible. Everything is possible for you.
Yeah.
And within the reason of our budget at that time, my husband and I didn't make a ton of money at that time either, but we really were very intentional about giving them those experiences and having, all a rich learning environment, all of those things. And that didn't always mean it was expensive or had to be a lot of money. But then when we did go to the zoo, or we did go to the museum, or recently we went to Disneyland, like being able to say yes.
Yeah.
Right. Being, yes, you can get the popcorn. Yes, you can get the expensive drink. Right. Yes, you can get the stuffed animal. Right. That was always, when I was little, my story was, you can't ask for anything extra. Like, don't be an extra burden, was what I felt.
Yeah.
And so if that means we do that stuff a little less and find the fun, free things to go do, like go take bug nets to the creek.
Yeah.
We do those things and we have that fun. But then when we choose to go to places that we can say yes and let them have that experience too. And we balance it. We balance it out.
Yeah. So where does humans design fit into all of this? And first, for people who don't know, and you're talking to somebody who's done like almost every personality assessment known to man, you were my introduction to human design. How did you come upon it? What impact did it have on you, and why do you use it in your practice?
So I first discovered human design in 2021. So it's been 4.5 years at this point. And when I found it, I had also been introduced to the Enneagram just prior to that, and did the quizzes online and stuff like that. But it wasn't quite sinking in. I wasn't quite getting it. It didn't feel like it fit quite right. And I had mistyped myself. I think I thought I was a 3, and I am not. I was typed later, and I'm a 1 apparently, which fits a lot better. But regardless, I heard a podcast. I just randomly listened to a podcast I had never listened to before. And the woman that was being interviewed said she first was studying Enneagram, and she was like, it's okay. And then she found human design and was like, oh, that's it. That resonates. Every piece of that like feels like me. Yep. And so I was like, well, I'm not really resonating with Enneagram. That's interesting. So I'm going to go look that up too. So I looked up my human design, had really no clue what it was saying. So I bought there was like a $35 report of like, okay, here's like the basics. And I'm just like crying, like
really
seeing myself reflected back to me. So fully.
Is that your first experience in any kind of personal development? You're coaching yourself, or was it just that deep and thorough?
It was that deep. Okay. I mean, I had done other stuff, strengths finders and, different things like in more of a corporate setting,
the mainstream stuff.
Right. Yeah. Myers-Briggs, different things like that. And again, I was raised non-denominational Christian. And part of it was, I'm also, my son, I'm a Leo son, was born in August 16th. And so I always like really identified with that. Like whenever I would hear something about like Leos, and I was like, oh yeah, I feel that, but I'm not allowed. Like astrology was demonic, right?
Oh yeah, sure. Pagan practices. Yeah.
Right. It was like I would like secretly like look at the horoscope. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But it was seriously, it was like hiding it. And so I didn't let myself like learn about that aspect of me until, was that I was 38, something like that, 37. And so, and then human design, it takes the astrological natal chart into account. Like that's part of it, but it also incorporates the chakra system. It incorporates the Kabbalistic tree of life. It incorporates the Chinese I Ching. So it's this whole like synthesis of these different systems, bringing it all together. And it gives you like a roadmap of how to use your own energy most effectively. Is the way that I like, that's the most succinct way I can say it. Like, what's your path of least resistance?
Yep.
When you follow your true self.
And I mean, because one of the things that you introduced me to in my reintroduction to Michael was that I'm trying to remember. There's a something about a heretic.
Yeah,
are you pulling me up? Right? Are you pulling me up right now?
Yeah. Oh, look, you're a 3-5. You're a martyr / heretic is the 3-5 line designation.
What you pulled out, and again, this is just us meeting. We've known each other for a couple of hours at this point. And you're like, oh yeah, you don't mind fucking it up. You'll just, on to the next, and the next one will be better, and the next one will be better, and the next will be better. And I was like, why do I feel so seen right now?
Yes, it's that self-recognition. Yeah, I feel seen.
Yeah.
And for me, a piece of it too was, oh, that's not wrong.
Well, let's go there, because I feel like so much of our judgment of one another is through this lens of right and wrong, right? As opposed to just accepting you're more evenly paced versus sprint stop. You're more willing to put yourself out there and be that martyr heretic and mess up in front of everybody and present that you will live through this and it'll be okay on the other side. Like there are just some people that have a higher tolerance for that stuff than others.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not right or wrong because obviously in the grand scheme of the universe, it takes all of these dynamics to make it go, right?
Right.
So how do we, in the conversation of differences, play in the arena of acceptance as opposed to judgment?
So this is one of the, I'm going to tie this into how does this fit with, the financial planning and the wealth
Yeah.
planning piece and all of that too. What you're speaking to right now, I think, is one of the most important aspects about learning your human design is that, one, it helps you, like we said, it reflects you back to you, and it helps you see your gifts, where your energy shines out, but also where you receive energy from others. And what that usually looks like is like feeling like, oh, I'm doing something wrong, where your shoulds have been, where you're like, I'm not good enough, I don't measure up in this area, people say I should, so it shows us this blueprint of what we call the self and the not self. And the practice is to heal the not self so that you can be more of your unique self, so that you're not, and in coaching, we talk about, where are you shoulding on yourself? Where are you doing all the things that you don't actually want to be doing, but you feel like you have to, whether that's in your business or in your marketing or at home or whatever, right? Like, so we talk about that in this self-reflective way, but not necessarily with the actual blueprint that says, hey, have you thought about these things specifically? Because your human design chart shows me this is where you're more susceptible to be conditioned by others. And this is where your energy is shining out and conditioning the people around you. And so when we talk about, especially in a relationship, so whether we're talking about, spouses, partners, romantic partners, or business partners, I work with a lot of couples where when they see their two different human designs, they're like, oh shit, oh, that's why you make decisions this way. And I have a different, we call it authority in human design. I have a different decision-making authority. So I have to go with, when my gut says yes or no, like I know that that's right for me. But you over here, you have to go through this like process of feeling the ups and downs, doing the to-do list, or the pros and cons list rather. That's me and my husband, by the way, like literally. When I learned that about myself, that I am the gut knowing person, and he is the, I have to, well, did you think about this? Did you think about that? Why didn't you ask more questions? Right? Like I always took that for 20 years as him, why can't I trust myself? Why don't you trust me? And why don't you let me trust myself? And take that as injury and conditioning of like, oh, I should be thinking about my decisions more. Because the truth is, yes, I've already considered most of that, and my gut knows yes or no.
Right. My ability to process that list is faster.
Yes.
That's what I'm hearing you say.
Yes. And that's true. That's true.
It's not that you skipped it completely.
Right.
Yeah.
It's that, but he didn't get to go through it. Right. He didn't, because he needs to go through the ups and downs of the, like, how is this going to be great? How is this going to be wrong? And come back to neutral. That's his authority.
Okay.
And so a lot of our, if we were in a disagreement about something, that was always a thing too. He'd be like, you're too fast. Like you're coming at me too fast.
Yep.
I need more time. I need to like step away and have time and it can be the male female piece of it is not necessarily the same. I've seen this on the complete opposite
Sure.
way
Yep.
as well, right? It's because of our authorities.
Yeah.
And he needs that time, and it's okay, and it's safe. I'm safe if he needs to go take time. And he also
Well, how
can remember that
freeing
it's
is
safe
that?
for me.
How freeing is that in your relationship to have that understanding and accept that in each other? So now he's not imposing that that negativity on you, and you're not creating a false expectation of moving faster on him,
It's
right?
it's so impactful. It
Mm-hmm.
literally changes a whole dynamic of a relationship.
100%.
And when we look, and then we look at our kids, and we can see again how our energy is impacting other people
Mm-hmm.
and how their energy is impacting us. And once we have that map of like, oh, like this person is going to lend this energy to you in a way, or
Mm-hmm.
it might feel like pressure,
Right.
like they're pressuring you to do something, but that's just, they naturally bring that energy of like,
Mm-hmm.
let's go. And you happen to be really susceptible to that energy of taking it on like it's yours versus saying, oh, they really want to go, so let them do their thing.
Yeah.
Right. It's separating out like, what's your energy? What's my energy?
Mm-hmm.
And then where do we come together? And then where can I let you do your thing and you can let me do my thing? Right. It's honoring each person in any
Yes.
relationship as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, if we tie that back to financial planning,
Yeah.
because it's why do I do these together? Why does this matter? It's because when we do not honor, especially if we're in a partnership, if you do not honor your partner in what they truly want to experience in life, right? I've seen this so many times that when couples come in, one of them is the main financial person,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one just wants to check out and not even be there. And so, and the goals are also the main person's goals. And
Mm-hmm.
the other person's like, yeah, I guess. So what happens when they do get to retirement? The person who was checked out during the conversation is now like, I didn't want this. This isn't what I thought I signed up for. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm out. And then we have this, phenomenon of gray divorce.
What's
And
that?
people, gray divorce meaning divorce after the kids have left, right? Your kids are out of the house,
Oh yeah.
and people getting divorced in their late 50s, especially late 50s,
Mhm.
early 60s, being like, hey, we weren't ever really on the same page.
Ugh.
And it
Mm.
sucks.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
how do you get around that? You open the conversation.
Hmm. My wife and I, we call that updating and upgrading our agreements.
Yes. 100%. That's exactly it.
Hmm. Yeah. It's like, okay, so we got married. We were both working. I was getting the gym off the ground. She was the earner, right? Made it through the pandemic, all that kind of good stuff. We're moving. Now we're in this place, and like us both being earners didn't serve our relationship and or our family, right? So then asking the question, hey, what if you got to be mom exclusively? I took that on, and like we do that for a while until that no longer serves us,
Mm-hmm.
right? And dude, my mom was just here, and there's nobody more observant than a mother. And she's like, Michael, you seem so happy. You
Mm-hmm.
both seem so happy. And the last time, she comes to visit every couple of years. We go see her and all that kind of good stuff. But like her observation of us on home with home field advantage is pretty rare. And she's like, the last time I was here, it seemed like you guys were good, but you were like on edge. And it's
Mm-hmm.
really good to see that energy is so much different in a positive direction. And having that insight and observation was very validating, especially coming from somebody who um isn't very forthright with their opinion in terms of like, I don't want to interfere. That's your relationship. I respect your marriage, etc. It's like, no, I want you. You did this for 28 years with my dad. Tell me all the things.
Right. Tell me what you see. Yes. Yeah, that reflection can be really powerful. And on the financial side, just one thing I would offer is like to stay in the conversation together still.
Yeah.
Right. And like, what are the ways that even if, one person is the main wage earner, that both people need to have financial autonomy in some ways, and those agreements need to be like, hey, this is how money works in our relationship now.
Yeah. And I think that's I love that, because I think it's inevitable that one of you, especially if you're the one collecting the check predominantly, one of you is going to be way more interested in this shit than the other. You tell me, is it more common to have that disparity of interest, or do you feel it more common that people are coming in 50-50? Like, oh yeah, I need to know all the things. Let's do that together. What's more common?
More commonly, there is a primary contact, like one partner that knows more than the other, that is more interested, that takes the lead. And that's, there is nothing wrong with that. And if you are the partner that's like, no, my other person does all of that, that's powerful.
So I think that the agreement then becomes, hey, we're going to go meet with Hannah. I need you to be as interested as I am for the next 90 minutes.
Well, and that's not even on her. I would say that's not on her. That's on the advisor.
So okay. That's your job.
Yes.
Oh,
that's my job. Let me tell you a story, Michael. I sat in when I was learning, and I sat in on so many meetings with husband and wife.
Yeah.
Specifically. I suppose this could happen with same-sex couples too, but I didn't observe that as much. This was mostly when it's a husband and wife.
Yeah.
Even when the wife was more the main wage earner. And again, the practice I was at, we had about 10 advisors. I was the only woman. Everyone else was a white male, at least 10 years older than me.
Okay.
Up to 30 years older than me, right? So I was sitting in with all these advisors. I would literally see the wife ask a question and the advisor take it in, turn and look at the husband and answer it. And what woman is going to be like, all right, never mind. Like,
yeah,
why am I even here? And I'd say I use that example because it wasn't one off. It was so common. And I would tell the guys, I would give them that feedback sometimes. They didn't want to hear it. They were like, no, I don't. And I was like, okay, do we need to put a camera in here? I'm not making this up.
Right.
And then, inevitably when the husband passes away and that wife that's been asking questions that has been not answered, she takes her money elsewhere. Right. She leaves because she was not considered. She didn't feel, maybe she was, right? Like the advisor will say, oh no, I talked to both of them and blah, blah. I'm like, no, you didn't listen to her.
Right.
You didn't include her in the conversation truly. And even though she's not the one making the primary income, right? These decisions, she is still a 50-50 part of this relationship.
Right.
And her input is just as valuable as his. And use that example very pointedly, which was just boggled my mind. Or I couldn't get like the administrative staff to like address if the woman was the primary client, it was so difficult to get them to address her as such.
Yeah.
Right. We're like, they would still like call the husband first and email him first. And he's like, don't call me. Like, she's the one that knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's, literally what I'm talking about here partly is the, inherent patriarchy of the system and the misogyny that is kind of like baked in.
Sure.
It doesn't mean that there aren't couples where, yes, that's the man takes the lead. But in my house, I take the lead on the financial side. And my husband takes care of a ton of other stuff that I have no clue how to take care of.
Right.
But this is my realm, right? So when someone is like asking him, or like if they were to, it's like, no.
Yeah. Right.
No, that's me. You're talking to me. Like, and it's just so interesting to see that it hasn't changed as much as I would have hoped it would by now. So what I can do is to be really intentional about that. And even in my process, when I take in new clients, I have journaling pages to do, right? Of like, what is it that you want to experience? What does retirement even mean to you? Like as a concept, what does that look like? Who are you sharing that with? Paint me the picture, right? So there's quite a few pages. And my instructions are, if you're in a couple, you do this is not group work.
Okay.
Do them separately.
Yeah.
No looking.
Sure. Yeah.
This is not
collaborative.
This is not a collaboration. I want you to look inside yourself and say, like, what does that really look like if you were getting to live out what's exciting to you and fulfilling to you on both sides? And then when you come together, you get to like flip it over and see.
Does that come before or after human design with you?
Before.
Oh, okay.
Kind of in tandem, I would say. That's before like more of a deep dive.
Yep. Okay.
But I do really like to get someone's birth information kind of right up front so that I can then support them through their decision-making process even before we're working together.
Cool.
Right. So that it's like, if I know you're an emotional authority person who needs that time, like even if on our sales call, you're like, how do we get started? Let's go. I'm ready. My position is, no, you need to go sleep on it. I want you to give me an answer tomorrow. This is not your full answer right now.
Yeah.
You need to sleep on it. You need to feel the wave. And if you have questions or concerns that come up in 24 hours, then you can send me those questions and concerns.
Right.
But this full yes that you feel right now is just the high side of your emotional wave. And I need you to feel through more of it.
Wow.
But I wouldn't know that, right?
Yeah.
Before, right. I can take some cues, like I can sometimes feel it from like, but if I can know beforehand, for someone to have that be like, that's the baseline.
Yeah.
No, we almost never get sold to like that. Nobody wants to be sold to. They want to buy things that they want to buy. Right.
Yeah.
But to not be like, hey, you need to decide right now and let me overcome all your objections. And I'm going to push till I get an answer. Yeah. That's what we're used to. Right. I don't do that. But yes. So anyway, I might have a little bit of information before we start, but this discovery process, that is usually one of the opening things that I do with couples. And what's so beautiful is that usually there's a lot of similarity. But then there's going to be these differences that show up, or things that are important to one or the other, that's when we can be like, oh, how can we create a beautiful life for each of you?
Yeah. Together.
Right.
Yeah. Damn. Hannah, you're amazing. I am beyond impressed with your process and your practice. Where can our listeners find you on all things finance and human design?
Gosh, you can really check out the human design and finance side at X and then the numeral 2 wealth.com or x2wealthplanning.com. Either one works. That's my practice where we really pull all of this together. So I invite you to go there. If this sparked this, like, oh, I don't know if that's right for me, but I really want to learn more. I'm super interested. There's a link right there on my calendar to get onto my calendar for a quick get to know you call, which is always my favorite. Like when I get to like see someone and we get to like vibe and we can see. So I love that. And then you can also find me at the Expansive CEO podcast. And I absolutely. And Michael, I think this is the same for you. It's like, it's such a piece of my heart.
Yeah.
That I get to share with the world. And we have beautiful, deep conversations again, like with you on Tuesday. Tuesday episodes are all about like my heart-centered, amazing, entrepreneur friends. And then Friday episodes are all about the economy, what's going on in the world, what's going on in the markets, and how do we, again, how do we make good decisions in the midst of what feels like chaos or who knows what, right? All the headlines that we hear. How do we find what's really important and make good decisions for us and our families?
Yeah.
Through that. So that's Friday episodes are called Investment Friday. So you can find that on any platform, Expansive CEO, or at expansiveceo.com. So thank you, Michael. Thank you so much for this conversation.
Yeah. 100%. I'm so grateful for you. Everybody listening, if you want to become the fittest leader possible, it requires integrity, courage, and ownership. Head over to nextlevelpfc.com and join us in our alignment container, thenextlevelvillage.com. Until next time, remember, it starts with alignment first.